This isn't your business doing this to you.
It's a gnarly subject, isn't it? Because sometimes you can just get really pissed off.
If you ever feel like you're in a unique position, go on Reddit and type it in, and you'll find someone the same thing has happened.
I've heard that. You almost wanted to cancel recording the podcast today because I was just spiraling this morning, and you were like...
If there's one thing that I've learned in 5 years of businesses, it's seldom rare that anyone knows what they're doing.
Welcome back to Generate Growth, the podcast where we talk all things ecom, growth and marketing. Today is one of our monthly episodes where we make things a little bit more personal. So yeah, grimace time.
Yeah.
This week we're going to talk about running a business and kind of running operations when external pressures are eating your time. So obviously for you right now, that looks like, legal issues, kind of other things external to like Generate specifically, like you've had other businesses that are kind of kicking off. So how's that all feeling for you at the minute?
I think fundamentally right now, I think that there's not a day that goes by where I'm not absolutely exhausted, because it's like spinning plates on repeat. And it's about finding fundamentally that balance, which is so difficult to do sometimes. But what I keep grounding myself with is when these external pressures happen, this isn't your business doing this to you. These are like things that are out of your control. You can control elements of your business if you really needed to. So, for example, if something's spinning out of control systems-wise, you can fix that system. Or like even more deeper, if a team member is like not performing, you can, fire and rehire. So when you do that, it really grounds you again into this is not a business problem. This is external, something that's trying to kind of fester away inside your business. And what you can't control, you need to let go of.
Yeah. Keeping things as honest and as frank as we possibly can. Obviously, it's a gnarly subject, isn't it? Because sometimes you can just get really pissed off.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I hate the world. Like, this is really annoying. This is that. But for you, what does kind of like that external stuff taking over look like in the business?
Yeah, I think I become a lot more snappier, impatient. I think is a big one for me, and the way that shows up. I get physical anxiety symptoms as well. I talk about systems all the time, you can tell. But those things all come up in those ways, and I almost enter a really bad frustration cycle. And it's not reflective of who I am as a character. I think a lot of people hearing that would be shocked, because even down to the team, I do try and really hold my cool in like different meetings, but that like negative side really does start to seep out. And that's when it kind of like the red flag gets raised, I think, and the team have started to become aware of those red flags and when something may be a little bit too hot and heavy and that stuff needs to pivot.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well it can almost look like trying to get things done quickly and not getting them done quickly at all.
Yeah.
Like I think today's a great example of that. Like you almost wanted to cancel recording the podcast today because I was just spiraling this morning, and you were like, maybe it's time that the push through's a little bit too much today. Yeah. But obviously I went and I pushed through, and maybe I've floundered a few more times and I've been a bit more tongue-tied than normal, because maybe, today was one of those times where I needed to stop and slow down a little bit to get things done more efficiently. I think that's one of those crucial things that both of us tend to suffer from, that sometimes we almost need to slow down and take a step back so things get done.
Yeah, listen, at the time of recording this is like Easter bank holiday weekend. This is the Thursday going into it. And I always dread this time within my agency, because I know that this is 4 days where, more than right, like the team gets to like go and chill with their family and friends. But I know the pressures that can build on like other business owners. So I get a bit of anxiety going into this period. And there's always this question of, should I work this weekend? Because I know that everyone's going to be offline with their friends and family, and can I get ahead? And still right now sat here, I don't know if I'm going to work tomorrow or not.
Yeah, you asked our office if they were open tomorrow, right?
Yeah. And I think that's indicative of like the way that business owners kind of like tick and work. And I know that you're not necessarily a business owner, but you're very high up role in the agency and almost on that level anyway.
I feel like being the partner of one, though, you're invested more in the business than anyone would normally be, because I'm like, okay, well, the roof over our head is dependent on this success right now. So it's dependent on me showing up and supporting you.
Yeah. And I think I think we still struggle to this day to understand where the line is. I don't think we've come anywhere close to figuring out where the line is right now.
The line moves.
Oh, I think, I think it moves because it builds that level of resiliency that I'm very proud that we both have and the agency has as well. But also knowing when the line needs to, like, you need to like set a boundary and really look after yourself. And I think that can be one of the hardest things to balance, because it's like an internal battle of if I work the weekend, then I'm going to be ahead when I've felt so behind. But are you going to just constantly be on that treadmill of being behind? Well, unfortunately, I think that's the way business works. After being in it for like 5 solid years and not really taking a huge amount of time away from it, I think that's one thing that I can solidly say, that there is always something else that you can be chasing or doing.
Yeah.
But can your body be doing that? Like, I've got a hospital appointment next week specifically around something that's happened around being like stress induced in my body. Do you know what I mean? So there's a point where you've got to understand where is the line. And I think in business, whether you're an agency or you're a client of an agency, or, you know, you're an ecom brand owner conversing with other ecom brand owners, kindness and compassion can go a really long way. And just understanding that, you know, everyone fucks up, everyone's business can do different bits and pieces that can damage, you know, like maybe a customer relationship or a little bit of trust. But where that human element needs to be like developed is maybe giving people that second chance, or hearing them out, or understanding the situation a little bit more, because I think that will help. So yeah, you never really truly know what's going on behind the scenes, I think, is like the key takeaway of that. But you need to almost be treating everyone with the kindness and compassion, and then doing that for yourself as well.
Yeah, there's that point, isn't there, where the chaos feels like too much. And I think every single founder kind of knows this point. There's a point where, you know, chaos, I feel like chaos counter is going to get dinged up somewhere near my head at some point. That's all becoming more and more prevalent. It's all feeling too much. You're trying to push through. You're trying to throw more ad spend at it, more creatives, you know, hoping you can kind of fix the issue. But fundamentally, it doesn't. So when does someone know when you need to hire, delegate, take time off, slow down? You know, like what does that look like?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? I think it fundamentally... I think there's a great book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
He's big on YouTube, actually. I found him on YouTube the other day.
I'm subscribed to it. I've not actually watched him on YouTube, but I read that book. And fundamentally, it's about like understanding your time value and what you can pull into like investing into different things. And if you just focus and stay in one lane, then you won't grow. And I think that's so important. Like, I had this really good conversation yesterday, actually, with, I think I mentioned Damian in the previous podcast, but Damian, again, like, really good friend of mine. We were speaking about growth, and he was talking specifically about experience. And he went, I find so interesting in the job market right now and going out to hire that people think experience is 10 years in the same place. You know, that's not experience. That's 10 years in a job where you stayed static and comfortable and been in like a specific zone and role for 10 years. That's not growth. Jumping around, pushing your skills.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason, obviously. But like what I'm saying is like I mean, even progressing within that business looks completely different, you know? So you start off as maybe like a, you know, on the lower level of employment, and you end up in a management role. That is you growing because you're testing something, you're doing something else. I think what you need to understand is where you've hit your capacity of where you want to be, and especially as a business owner, where your goal is at and where you want to be within the business, and not compromise on being pulled down into things.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I think analysing the stuff that you can box off early, and that's something that Dan Martell does, is like assigns your time to a monetary value, which is really interesting. He basically calculates your per hour basis.
Yeah.
And then you can start to understand like when you can hire someone to do those fundamental roles to take that off your plate.
Yeah.
So really recommend that book.
I have seen people do similar to that, like almost assigning value to a task. I've seen people do it to clients, to be fair, and they've been like, do you know what? You're my lowest paying client, so you're going to get an hour, and the higher paying client is going to get 2 because they pay me more. They pay me more to be here.
And this is the problem with, I think, when you split up like client your payments. Like if you're in service delivery, it splits. If you split up,
it puts value on people, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And like actually, the business that's paying you less might need a little bit more attention and time, but you're always going to go to where the cash is paying you more.
Yeah.
So I think that's system of like that level, and that was a lesson that we learned when we were actually in Develop Digital, that like when we had needed to have tough conversations with clients that were spending a lot of money with us, we were scared because it was like a percentage cut of our revenue, and it makes you kind of think about your values a little bit and kind of put monetary value on your values, you know. And I'm proud to say that like we had those conversations and we still follow through with them and sack the client. And on a bottom line, that would be catastrophic. Financial director looking at that would be like, what are you doing? But we couldn't do it anymore. The relationship wasn't there. And instead of souring it further and actually it becoming very, very toxic, let's just cut ties here.
Protect everyone's energy and then just move.
Yeah.
For you then, because obviously time gets squeezed, it happens. When that's creeping in, what's your first move to try and protect that?
So I am a very much pen and paper girly. Like I like a good journal diary to like offload everything that's on my brain into like a physical format. But then what I also do is make sure that I kind of split that in two. So I do my time blocking, but I also make sure that I've got an active to-do list of when things crop up throughout the day that may be of less importance but are kind of living in my brain. I make sure that I jot that down. Then I make a fundamental decision every single day when I finish to load that into a to-do list, and then kind of try and schedule out my time. Sometimes that falters. I've now got 20 task lists on my to-do list today because I've stacked wrong. But what that gives me an understanding of is what tasks do I keep putting off and why am I putting them off? And this allows me to like know if I'm a procrastination cycle or if something can just be deleted. Like it's as simple as that. It's just not important enough. So that allows me to reevaluate my time.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I used to make when I was, and again, not to say that I'm even remotely perfect with time blocking, is that I didn't take meetings into account. And I'm not talking kind of like the sporadic ones of, oh, can you just jump on Zoom and help me fix this? I'm talking the ones that were already in my calendar. And that's where, when we kind of created like all the systems in ClickUp, I instantly navigated to the calendar feature because I integrated my Google Calendar. I ensured that all of my meetings were marked as yes attendance, so that I would go into my like agenda or calendar view and they would all be blocked out. And then I could quite easily see, because we tend to do like meeting days in the agency, don't we? So we'll have like a meeting heavy day on a Monday and a meeting heavy day on a Wednesday. I know that if I go into my to-do list on the Wednesday and I've got 10 really labor intensive tasks that are things like web development and stuff, which I'm not great at, it's in the wrong day.
Yeah.
And I need to change that, because that is where your time can get eaten up without even realizing it. And it's things like comms and stuff like that, which you're like, oh, it's just a quick 30-minute call, but you know, someone might have another call jump up in the middle of that meeting, and you know, then next thing you're 10 minutes back, or you might just be chatting for a little bit longer because something's cropped up, you know. Shit happens, things get in the way, but fundamentally the more that you try and plan a little bit of buffer room in between things, then you almost leave yourself with that space as well to get shit done. And I think another one of the biggest things that I ever did was actively considering the fact that I have some tasks which I couldn't attribute, but just responding to messages and checking my to-do list and things like that, they actually take time.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. It's a huge sucker that I was going to speak about, that general admin that you I don't think anyone takes into account in the day, but actually scheduling time to do that. And I'm not saying as rigid as going, you know, I'm going to go offline for this block of time and I'm going to come online for 15 minutes and only respond in that period, because you don't know what's going to crop up. But what I'm saying is like, this is all a part of like the kindness and compassion play. Like be kind to yourself, because you don't know what that day is going to look like. And of course that doesn't mean just keep moving things out your to-do list and go, I don't know, to the cinema for the day or whatever. It's about being structured with your time to get more done effectively. versus just overloading yourself.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Things will crop up, but fundamentally, it's giving yourself, and that's like we were speaking about that roadmap before as well, like having that core view of what you want to achieve by the end of a week or the end of a month. You can really move things around when shit gets in the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. So from your side then, obviously we've seen founders, panic and they start doing like reactive discounting and things like that. How do you stop the external stresses impacting those decisions?
I think it's quite difficult because sometimes they just do.
Yeah.
And when those external pressures take over, you end up maybe losing a day, maybe losing 2 days.
Well, let's change the question then. And let's say they have impacted something. How do you get yourself back onto your A game?
I think it's contextualizing. Like it's so important to get to retrain your thoughts on situations, and I think that's the only way that I've managed to get through the past 2 years in business. Because if not, there would be times where I'd be feeling like completely hopeless when it comes to business development. And I think what you need to do is like box it into what it is and then reframe it.
Yeah.
And it's a very healthy and good way of looking at things. Every situation you can find something to be grateful for in it. Whether it's like the worst situations happen to you in your life, you've learned something from that and you can start to reframe it. And what happens is you start to like build up those like micro connections of the reframing, and you get stronger and more positive, and before you know it, you're back in your A game. Consistency is probably one of the hardest things in this game, like doing and churning out the same jobs, the same stuff, the same conversations, staying on the same consistent wavelength, doing the same things and systemizing. Like that can feel like such a drudge of the business. But I remember one of my earliest coaches turned around and said that's where the money is made, when you keep continuing on the same, like, when something's working, you double down and you consistently provide whatever output that looks like. And for us right now, that it's like doing things like sending DMs and setting up systems and things like that are really like churning through the drudgery. But with that, I think I spoke about this in another episode, is that consistency and growth.
Yeah.
It's like almost like you're starting to learn and develop further.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's to be sniffed at all, that consistency and turning up and knowing that no matter what, you've got to get these priorities done in your to-do list and you've had a really good day.
Yeah. Say you reach capacity ceiling then and legal's popped off, you very much, nothing else can get done. Your brain's getting a bit melted by the end of the day.
Yeah.
What's like one of the first things that you think should and will get delegated?
I think should and will get delegated. I think I find it very difficult to delegate in those moments.
You do.
I really
Yeah,
try
you're
and
guilty.
shuffle. Yeah. I think what should get delegated is anything that you feel that needs to be done, but you can't do it to a high standard, and finding the closest team member that can do that. There's times where there's like our client success manager calls it like running around and doing like tasks and like side quests, I think she calls them.
It's side quest.
Side
She'd be devastated that you didn't actually know the name for it, by the way.
So she'll go side quest activated and then she'll run off and do it. What that does is give that team member an opportunity to start to learn something new, maybe a little bit out of their scope, and get delved into to bring a broader understanding. But they'll have like a different lens to it anyway, so that they can present it back to you and then you can go forward with it. So yeah, I think it's anything that needs doing, but you can't actively like do right now to the high standard.
So if someone's listening right now then and they're feeling completely stuck in this, everything's just constantly eating up their time, they don't know like how to cope with it, what's like a permission slip that they need right now? Like what's one little snippet of advice, or just give yourself a little bit of space? Like what's that look like?
If there's one thing that I've learned in 5 years of businesses, it's seldom rare that anyone knows what they're doing. Like, we're all just people trying to make the most out of the situations that we're being dealt, and we're trying to build back up and be doing it responsibly and hopefully with kind and care and compassion put into it. And I think it's very, very easy to feel like it's you versus the world, and the world is a very bad place to be in,
Yeah.
especially when you're in business, because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there.
Mm-hmm.
But really ground yourself in the good that you see in others, and like the
Yeah.
work that you see in other people, and like what they've done and developed. And I think like familiarizing yourself with people that have been in similar scenarios as you, and becoming a part of a community where you can bound around, ideas to get you out of that mindset is so important. I'm not actively in a community right now, which is interesting. And I think this is the first time in business that I've not been in one
Mm.
of like similar minded people in like agency owner space.
Mm.
And I feel it.
Mm.
I feel it. Because it used to be that you could just open whatever like communication tool and you
Mm.
would just be like, like I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like I'm completely like I've lost track. But what I have replaced that with is people on Instagram
Yeah.
reaching out and starting DM conversation with me, and I am awful at responding. I'm sorry, guys. Like I
Yeah.
am the worst. But those little nuggets of support and help, and
Mm.
knowing that, and even on LinkedIn as well, actually, just nice comments and people like really supporting you on your journey, I think is just so important.
Yeah, I'm so, so glad that you used the term community, because as you were talking about that, I had like this specific story pop up in my head from one of my team one-to-ones the other day. And this feels like I'm dobbing someone in, to be fair, but it's not private information. Um, and myself and Sheena were talking about learning new things. And she obviously has been supporting us massively on like our social media strategy. And she said that previously she'd kind of been given like instruction on produce the content, produce a caption, post it. I
Yeah.
don't want you monitoring the KPIs or anything like that. So it was just like she would churn. And she wasn't learning from what she was churning at all. She was just kind of getting instruction. So Sheena was like, I want to do better. I really want to connect myself with what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And she's been using a lot of YouTube and Instagram Reels to learn from other people. And she sat on this call with me and she was like, I feel like it doesn't count though, because it's just YouTube. And I turned around and went, whoa. I was like, I'm going to challenge that for a second. You're learning something from someone who's actively doing it.
Yeah.
These courses, I said, I'd attended a social media course and it cost, I think, about £800 or something for like a full day intensive. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you a single thing that I learned that day. It felt really, really dated. It felt like the teachers weren't active on these platforms. Like they were just, it felt like theory as opposed to application of something. And I said then, I was like, Sheena, you're learning from people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, and you're connecting with these people despite the fact that it's through a screen. You're connecting with what they're doing and you're applying that to yourself. And that's kind of like everything. Like you're actually learning from people that are doing the same thing, and you're able to apply those skills because it feels like you can put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. And then you obviously got the comments element as well, where you could get actively involved. But I think it's so important that you find community in any aspect of what you're doing and working in, because it does ultimately, like, entrepreneurship can feel so lonely at times. Like it feels like it's you on this like one path. And I think that reminding yourself that people have been in the exact same situation scenarios that you've been. I always remember someone saying, I think it might have been a book I was reading actually, and a community in books as well, and reading and doing those stories. But in this book, it said, if you ever feel like you're in a unique position, go on Reddit and type it in, and you'll find someone that the same thing has happened.
I've heard that.
And that is a way of building and developing your own community, So I think that is so important as well, to give yourself those grounding exercises, that not necessarily sitting there in the moment and breathing, but the grounding exercises where you actually like go and start to study the information.
Yeah. Nice. So I guess there we have it. The permission slip is community. It's finding your tribe and finding your people.
And however it works for you doesn't mean going and spilling your guts out to people.
It can be passive.
Yeah, it can be very passive. And I think it's super important to just stay on top of that.
I love that. What's one win this week then, in terms of the external pressures not getting to you? What's one win that you've had, so we can end this on a positive note?
Our business is growing. It's actively growing.
I love that.
I think like we've had a period of stagnation while like obviously we've been working, not stagnation, we've like just been like stagnation. I don't really care about saying that.
A rebrand's like ground zero, right? And building back up.
We had a quarter of like rebranding, finding out who we are, like figuring out our tone of voice, and we're growing. Like, and we're back on that scalability trajectory now, and that literally happened in the last week. So, huge win. I don't even think it's a mini win. I think it's a huge win. So super proud of like the team, and the development of the business and where that's going.
Do you think we can put another win in by signing off the podcast and getting you a beer, maybe?
Oh yeah, I think that is definitely. No, I can't even drink right now.
Oh no.
So thanks for that.
Maybe not.
Let's go and find a carton of juice from somewhere. But yeah, that is mini win is now like our podcast session's over as well. So we can actually go and
another
relax.
mini win. We can go chill out.
Yeah.
Shall we sign off the way that we sign off, team?
Let's do it.